Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Hard Magic Devlog. Unfortunately, because of last-minute epiphanies, this devlog is going to cover things that are already being scrapped and reworked as we speak. That, combined with a few real-life issues, meant that this month's devlog is going to be cut shorter than I'd like. To compensate, I've released the project source code of one of my older Game Jam entries, a 3D action RPG called Ecrasius, with some PSO elements. If you use Bakin, then you can check it out on the Steam Workshop. Anyway, before we can talk about the scrapped mechanic, I'd like to present to you all the main heroine of the game. Everyone, please welcome Melenna. She's also the main character in the prologue segment, but in the main game, she's sporting a different look. For both story and gameplay reasons, Melenna loses the ability to transform into a magical girl in the main game. Now, originally, I was going to talk about Melenna being able to weapon switch. It was a simple concept meant to feel like Die Hard, with the objects laying around the place to be used as weapons for a bit of that survival vibe. You'd be able to swap weapons during battle, and each weapon would have their own skills, and Melenna's skills with the weapon would improve with usage. Then, I was going to talk about Melenna's ally during the main game section, who didn't appear in the prologue section, Phone. Phone can transform into a magical girl during battle. And at this point, I was going to talk about the downsides of her transformation, but then I became lazy when editing this video, and binged YouTube all night. Well, that and I was annoyed at how my custom-made leveling up system wasn't going to kick it, as well as an overcomplication of classes that would have handled all the learnable skills for both weapons and the magical girl form that Phone would use. So, in times of productive unproductivity, I messed around with Melenna's model in Vroid Studio, threw in Phone's magical girl outfit, and then it hit me. My story involves terrorist magical girls. Instead of weapons, what if you could just snatch away the magical girl transformation devices from the terrorists and use the forms to your advantage? So basically, we drop the weapons, have both Melenna and Phone transform into one of many magical girl forms that they collect by defeating terrorists, and then swap forms like we do currently with weapons to have access to different skills, passives, and weaknesses. Now, as good as this sounds, I still need to do some game design work regarding this system, so I won't be able to talk much about this system for now. I do intend to have gameplay differences between Melenna using one form and Phone using the same form, including small visual differences. I did ask my audience on X and YouTube about the idea, and you guys seemed to like the idea. The big dilemma right now is how to balance transformations, which become the highlight of the game, with the human base form. Should transformations be permanent? Does it need MP to use, MP to stay in? Do you start the battle transformed? Do you leave battle transformed? Is the human form as important or powerful as a transformation, or is it akin to Digital Devil Saga where it is a state of weakness? Heck, do we make transformations just for the main terrorists, or do we remove the idea of monsters and replace them with magical girl goons instead, so that we have more than just bosses? I'd love to have your opinion on this.
Oh, and quick side note at the last minute, my brother told me that I'm basically making Final Fantasy X2 all over again, and I didn't even know what X2 was even about. Apparently he told me they even have magical girl-like transformations, so I'm basically making a X2 ripoff with a Die Hard scenario. Wow, I guess I wasn't that original after all.
I guess I could talk about some changes I've done thanks to you guys leaving comments, mainly about the flaw and weakness system. To thematically tie it to magical girls, I've themed the states around a heart shape, so it's protected by a barrier and then breaks when the flaw is hit. I've also tweaked the system so that after the first time you break an enemy's heart, when it restores itself, you'll need to hit the flaw element twice to break the heart. But in exchange, the heart stays broken for 2 target turns. And after, it needs to be hit 3 times before the heart stays open for 3 turns. It caps out at 3 for any attempt afterwards. This adjustment comes from some personal playtests with the speed alteration mechanics, which didn't work out as I had intended. I'll be toning down the speed alterations as a result, but because it would have affected the timing aspect of the elemental system, I had to do some changes. On the bright side, the MP regeneration adjustment I talked about in Devlog 1 held up really well, even when the speed alterations were on the more extreme end of things, so that's staying in. Regarding content that isn't tied to battles, I've added a vent crawling mechanic. While it seems like a first-person mode, under the hood it's actually the third-person mode just with a closer camera, and with the player model set to hidden. I did try to see if a third-person approach could work, and I even made animations for it, but it didn't work out. Sorry, I didn't have much concrete content to show off this time, but a lot of under-the-hood work has been done within the free time I had. Real life got a bit in the way, and I wasn't able to work on the game for half the month. But as an apology, I could show you guys the silhouettes of the evil magical girls that I've created throughout March, which should be the entire roster. They're called the Magical Terror Girls, and each one sports a different kind of magical girl outfit. With the new mechanic I'm working on, they're essentially becoming the robot masters of a Mega Man game. So with that, I'll bid you guys farewell, and I'll return next month with more development updates on Hard Magic. As usual, if you liked what you saw and are interested in keeping track of the game, subscribe to the channel. I know it's still early in development, but if you want to help me get the game to build audience momentum, then by pressing like, commenting, and sharing the video, you'll be helping me and the game out in the long run. So thank you for watching, and see you next month. Bye!